Hey, welcome back to the channel. In the last episode we brought the boat in the shop, put the handrails on it. This episode I'm going to cut the transom off the back of it, so lots to see. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Before I get too carried away, we've got to do some cleanup. She's been sitting for the better part of quite some time, so there's a whole bunch going on inside of her. But anyway, we'll get her cleaned up and then we'll just start doing some cutting. Over the course of the year we spent quite a bit of time looking at the boat and going over the boat, trying to figure out what to do with it. So there was a bit of liquid planning going on inside of it. So this is what I'm trying to get out of the boat right now to get ready to start actually doing the job. Just a little bit. So to start, I'm going to get all the engine compartment ripped apart, pull off all the covers and all that, just start hacking that out of the way so I can get access to everything else. Right now I'm actually going to cut the transom off the back of it, get rid of that. It's got, like I say, we're not too sure what exactly went on, if it originally had one motor or if it had two motors and then they went to one, but the three holes, obviously there's not enough room for three motors in the back of that thing, so however it started, it ended up with three holes in the back, so we got to cut the entirety off of it. So we're going to take about 7 inches off, cut that off, and then we're going to build basically just a flat transom on the back of it, and we'll bolt up the outboards on the back of that. So, and then we're going to jaunt it out a little bit for a kicker bracket, and then we're going to jaunt out a bit of a swim platform to put a dive ladder and all the rest of it on there. So, but to start with, we got to get everything cut off. So let's get doing it now. So like I mentioned before, we're going to take 7 inches off this thing. So I thought I'd just take my tri-square and I could trace the transom angle right through it, right? Just follow the line down, which works pretty good for the sides of it. But what I had missed to recognize was the bottom of it actually has a bit of like a crown to it, an outside crown. I knew that was going on in the top, but I didn't realize it on the bottom. So I laid it out that way. And then once I started to cut, thank God it was on a crown to the outside. So I cut was what was actually going to get thrown away, but so I needed a straight line going underneath that because we don't want a crown on the back of it, we just want a flat back. So anyway, I got lucky on that one. I noticed it as soon as I started cutting it. I only got about 1.5 feet into it, and then I stopped and I just put a straight line straight across on the back of it. So all worked out good. I got to take the skegs off this boat too, so the part right by my knee there where you can see the bunch of holes going through it, that's got to come off it. They had big stainless like knife edge skegs on it, and they were there to protect the legs on the inboards, but they're not going to line up their outboards, and then they hang down so low it makes it pretty difficult to trailer. That's why there's bolt holes, because they actually had them bolted on, so if you had to pull it out you just undo them. So they're not going to work for us, so we're just going to cut them off. So I decided I was going to use an arc hair to cut the skegs off the bottom of this thing, just given that they're welded on there and I don't have to weld anything back in place, so a little bit of contamination isn't really a problem. So it was easier to cut them off with this, although it's one of the most hateful tools to use. It's obnoxiously loud and you tend to burn yourself quite a bit. I ended up blowing a little bit of a hole in the bottom of the boat, which was fine. I just ground it out and re-welded it. You probably wouldn't want to use this in an application where you had to re-weld something on there. You'd be better off to take it off with a skill saw or something like that, just because the contamination problem with it. But this one, all I really got to do is grind it up, and it's good. So should work all right. Other than under there trying to burn the heck out of myself, everything went pretty well. The real trick is to position yourself in a place where the final cut, you're not underneath it. That's why I'm over on the side there. Always anticipating it's going to fall off the second you cut it off, which it actually needed a little bit of a smack, but didn't get me anyway. Well, that's the last one coming off. So I'm sure you guys are sick of listening to the arc here just like I was. Gonna move on to the other part of the project where we're gonna cut the transom off. So it's quite intricate actually up top where they have it built. So hack all that out. So should come apart pretty good. I took a little bit of a blueprint of it, measured like widths between the hull and all the rest, and I made some reference marks as to length so it's square and all the rest, so I don't have to go through all that trying to figure all that out. So should go back together easy with all that information. I sped the video up quite a bit just so you guys didn't have to sit and watch the entirety of cutting this thing off. It was quite a bit of time actually to get down to the bare bones where I could actually take the back end off the thing. But it's always interesting cutting something apart. You never really know exactly how it's built until you start cutting, so I always enjoy this part of it. I cut the original placard out with the builder's name and date and all the rest of it. Give credit where credit's due. We're probably going to find a spot to weld it back on once we're done the project. So there's an inside view of the skill side going through it. It's cut through all the ribs now, that's why it's kicking so much. And then everything's stressed out. All the ribs in there, pretty much other than the little small angle iron, were welded in afterwards. So everything's kind of stressed out and been tweaked and modified, and so it's binding when you cut into it. You really got to ask yourself, how many times do you actually get to take a skill saw to the bottom of a boat? You got to appreciate the little things. Pretty hard on a skill saw. Definitely destroys the blade pretty quick. We bought a 26-foot fiberglass boat at Lionel, I believe it was. And we bought it we thought the motor might work, and it had 302 in it. And then turned out it didn't. And we got a trailer out of it, so it wasn't a complete loss. But Mike actually got to take a loader to the thing and rip it all apart and throw it in a bin. So that's probably just way more fun than taking a skill saw to the bottom of a boat. I was kind of jealous watching them. So I just took plasma and cut a couple of holes in the back end of the transom there, and I can hook chain into it to grab it. The crane. Hold on to it while I cut it off. I'm pretty sure the whole piece that I cut off there probably weighs about 300 pounds. The right by my knees there where the holes go through for the legs, there's all probably 3 sheets of 3/4 inch plywood sandwiched in there that is just saturated. Cranes certainly make life easy. Sure is nice to have the knock-a-boom cranes. So you always want to leave just a nice, easy spot to cut for your last little cut so that it doesn't fall on your toe. Or you don't want to be underneath it cutting the last little piece off. So that's what I did here. At the very top end of it, there was all the bent in pieces and all the rest. It was a little bit more difficult than I thought to actually get in there and cut it off. But other than that, it actually went pretty well. Didn't follow me anyway, so that's a good thing. You can't really see it, but I was pulling pretty hard on it. I actually had the boat off the stands for a little bit, trying to get it to balance off. Ended up just having to go back and do a little bit more cutting to get it to come off. I worked for a logging outfit where if we had like a major project going on in the yard where we had a machine rip right apart, at the end of the day we'd take like the cab or something that we had off of it, like a major component, something big, and we'd put it back on there to set it in place so it looked like it was all back together. And then the boss would show up and he'd look at it and go, "Wow, you guys got lots done," and we'd all kind of sit around and have a bullshit and all that. It was pretty funny. And the next morning we'd just show up, we'd pull it off and go back to work. Kind of funny. The one outfit that I worked for, we had a customer come in and he had a 40-foot aluminum boat and he had a 30-foot prawn license for it. Pretty sure it was prawns. I never actually realized that the licensing was for the size of the boat you had. So anyway, you had to cut 10 feet out of the boat. So we literally took the boat, we cut it in half. We took 10 feet out of it and then we married it all back together. And then I built a swim platform on the back of it that was 10 feet long and all tied in and then braced back into it to make it that extra 10 feet that he'd lost. So it was something else to do. But I guess they just they go from the transom to the bow is what they measure a boat at, and that's your sizing for it, especially, well, for the license at least. So quite the project. Pretty interesting. So I guess when I asked myself how many times I get to take a skill saw to the bottom of a boat, this would be twice. But I was involved with the DFO's dive boat, and we put a new bottom on it, but I was only there when it got put back on. I didn't actually get to remove it, so I don't get to say 3 times. Well, thanks again for watching. Appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next episodes. We're gonna pull the fuel tanks out of it, start putting her back together actually. So hope you enjoyed this one, and hope you enjoy the next. Thanks again.